Well, the lawyers are getting involved. The Hans Niemann, Magnus Carlsen chess cheating drama has been going on for almost 2 months now. Every development seems to take the story to crazy new heights, and this one is no exception. Hans Niemann is now suing Magnus Carlsen and others for over $100 million. Once again, let's get into it. Alright, a lot of you guys watching this video will probably have seen all our videos on this, but there are some of you out there who missed a couple perhaps because you weren't subscribed to the channel, so make sure you are subscribed to us if you haven't done so already. And if you found this video informative, leave us a like. We really do appreciate it. Cheers. Okay, so if you've watched any of my other videos on this, you'll know that I like to do a quick run through of what's previously happened. I'm going to assume here that everyone knows at least something about what's happened over the past couple of months, so let's make this really quick. On September 4th at the Singfield Cup, 19-year-old American chess grandmaster Hans Niemann shocked the chess community by beating 31-year-old Magnus Carlsen, who many believe to be the greatest chess player of all time. The next day, Magnus announced he'd withdrawn from the tournament via a cryptic tweet of the famous Jose Mourinho "If I speak, I'm in big trouble" clip. The implication taken by many was that Magnus was accusing Hans of cheating. This included Magnus's longtime rival and Twitch streamer Hikaru Nakamura, who spoke at length on his stream about the accusations and Magnus's potential mindset at the time. Hans admitted to cheating in online games when he was 12 and 16, but wanted to make it clear that he'd never cheat again, especially in an over-the-board tournament game like this one. In the absence of any concrete proof of cheating, speculation reached bizarre levels, including a theory that Hans used anal beads to receive signals for which moves to make in the infamous Magnus game. On September 19th, the pair faced off in the Julius Baer Generation Cup, but Magnus resigned in protest after one move. A week later, Magnus released an official statement stating he believed Hans had cheated more and more recently than he had publicly admitted, and that he was not willing to play against him. October 4th saw chess.com release their official report on Hans Niemann, in which they said, based on statistical analysis, that Hans likely cheated in more than 100 online games, but that they found no concrete evidence of him using cheats in any over-the-board games, including the one with Magnus. The following day, Hans seemed to address the latest developments by stating that his chess would do the talking for him. But as it turns out, sometimes you need a little bit more than chess to do the talking. Last Thursday, Hans filed a lawsuit in the US state of Missouri against 3 plaintiffs: Magnus, his chess app company Play Magnus, chess.com's chief officer Daniel Wrench, and Hikaru Nakamura. The suit begins by saying, quote, "Niemann is a 19-year-old self-taught chess prodigy. He brings this action to recover from the devastating damages that defendants have inflicted upon his reputation, career, and life by egregiously defaming him and unlawfully colluding to blacklist him from the profession to which he has dedicated his life." The suit then talks about Hans's passion for chess and how up until recently he'd been living out of a suitcase traveling the world to compete in chess tournaments. It then moves on to discuss Magnus Carlsen and states that he exploited his notoriety and success to create Play Magnus, and that Hans was once a brand ambassador for them. They then note chess.com's August 2022 agreement to acquire Play Magnus for $83 million and merge the companies, which the suit alleges is an attempt to monopolize the chess world. They allege that Magnus did this to solidify his position as king of chess, because he believes that when it comes to chess, he can do whatever he wants and get away with it. So you might be wondering why chess.com, Play Magnus, and Hikaru are all being mentioned here. After all, this is supposed to just be about Hans versus Magnus, right? Well, at the crux of this suit is the belief that the various defendants haven't just happened to oppose Hans separately, but that they acted together. They state that the banning of Hans from chess.com events was done in collusion with Magnus to lend credence to his cheating accusations. They said Hikaru, as a streaming partner of chess.com, colluded with both Magnus and chess.com when creating content that amplified the allegations, and the chess.com executive Danny Wrench issued defamatory press releases and reports which falsely accused Hans of lying in his Singfield Cup interview in order to bolster Magnus's implication of Hans cheating in his loss to him. Okay, so Hans and his legal team are putting forward the case that these people conspired together to destroy Hans's career in its prime, and that they, quote, ruined his life. They state that his blacklisting from chess.com and Play Magnus tournaments means that he won't be able to attend the majority of FIDE events. Now, a lot of this suit reads as chess.com being painted as this sort of bully that's exerting its influence in the chess world to determine a player's success, public image, and exposure. It continually refers to chess.com's comments as defamatory defamatory and its investigation report as nothing more than a hit piece. Hans' legal team is seeking damages of no less than $100 million from the defendants for their alleged slander, libel, unlawful boycott of Hans, contract and business interference, and committing of civil conspiracy. Now, the lawsuit outlines its case against each of the defendants in more detail, but the one I found myself skipping to was Hikaru Nakamura. Many of you watching this will know that Hikaru has appeared to simply discuss the events of this controversy on stream and suggest that it was obvious why Magnus withdrew from the Singfield Cup after his loss to Hans. Now, don't get me wrong, he certainly has never come across as Hans' friend or that he has his back throughout any of this, but it was certainly a shock to see him named as a defendant. The suit claims Hikaru has a well-documented history of abusing his leverage as a partner of chess.com to blacklist competitors, particularly up-and-coming chess players. It also states Hikaru and Hans had an acrimonious relationship for years, and that Hikaru viewed Hans as a threat to his dominance as a chess streamer. They claim that Hikaru's statements on all of this have been false, defamatory, and unsubstantiated. Okay, so that is apparently what motivated Hikaru to act against Hans, according to his legal team. But what about chess.com? Well, the suit says that the planned $83 million merger between chess.com and Play Magnus was threatened by Magnus's defeat to Carlsen. They theorized that negotiations would have been ongoing at the time and that the loss would have affected the merger and jeopardized what they described as chess.com's monopoly of the chess industry. In simple terms, what they're saying is that Magnus losing would have rocked the boat of that deal. They seem to be implying that the cheating accusation might have been a way to salvage Magnus's reputation at a crucial time in this business merger. As for Magnus's motivations in this conclusion, the lawsuit alleges that aside from the business motivations we've already discussed, Magnus was simply embarrassed. In fact, they say that Hans defeating Magnus with the black pieces, taunting him during the match, and shattering his 53-game unbeaten streak, which stopped him from reaching a rating of 2,900, were all reasons for him to accuse Hans of cheating, which they once again note happened during the negotiation of the Play Magnus merger with chess.com. I'm not going to go into every single detail of the 44-page lawsuit here, but to put it simply, Hans and his legal team refute every last detail and comment that any of the defendants have made about this over the past couple of months. By doing this, they've hit the ball back over the net in a big way. They're asking the defendants to prove all or any of the accusations they've made in the past few months. Except this time, there's a bankrupting level of money and their reputation on the line. The lawsuit also provides opinions from what they describe as chess experts who stated that there is no evidence that Hans cheated against Magnus or that he lied about his previous online play. Now, one question I've heard floating around is why is this lawsuit taking place in Missouri when neither Hans nor any of the defendants are from there? Now, there are some theories that this is because Missouri is a state that allows cameras into its courtrooms and Hans wants the world to watch. But the suit states Missouri was chosen because a substantial part of the events took place there, including the Singfield Cup, where all of this began. Okay, so where are we now? Well, chess.com has replied to the lawsuit with a statement from their lawyers which says Hans's allegations have no merit and that they look forward to settling the record straight on behalf of, quote, its team and all honest chess players. Now, whether you believe Hans or not, most chapters of this story have felt like everyone just bashing Hans over the head. In the eyes of the public, things have just gone from bad from worse with every new statement or report from the people that he's now suing. But this lawsuit might change that a little bit. Sure, he's unlikely to get anywhere near the amount he's asking for in this case. But I don't really get the impression it's to do with money in the first place. It feels like the $100 million is just an arbitrary amount to convey just how seriously he's taking what he feels are life-ruining accusations. This figure has really set the tone for the court case already though. Hans means business. What he really wants, more than money though, is to clear his name. But even that isn't guaranteed. You might think that if the defendants can't prove their statements were true, then Hans will emerge as the victor. But in reality, these kind of cases often fall apart because intent to disregard the truth is missing, or at the very least, the ability to prove that disregard. Bloomberg's Stephen Carter described in his article on all of this that Hans will have to show that the defendants said something that was untrue and said out of malice. Still, it's far from an open and shut case on either side. Just like every other part of this story, this could go any way at this point, but it does feel like Hans is throwing everything at the wall and just seeing what sticks. What will success look like for either party? How will this court case shape the future of chess? Is this the beginning of the end or simply the end of the beginning? I've honestly given up trying to predict where this story will go next, but when there is more to it, I'll see you right back here.